Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Darren, a professional dive instructor in South Florida, and today's topic is, should you hire a dive guide? First of all, what is a dive guide? You call up the dive shop, you go to book your dive charter, and they ask, would you like to have a private dive guide with you? And you think, I don't know, what does that person do? Well, let's clarify the role of a dive guide and the situations where it might be beneficial for you to have one. Most dive charters can fall somewhere on a continuum from basically it's a taxi that's going to take you out to the dive site and offer very limited services. The goal and purpose of the dive boat is simply to leave the dock with a group of people, go to a location like a shipwreck, and return at a certain time and bring back people. That's it. They're not really providing any kind of service on board. People are expected to be completely self-sufficient. And that might be great if you know exactly what you're doing. You're diving with a group of friends, you're going to one of your favorite shipwrecks, and that's all you need. On the other end of the continuum is a fancy live-aboard luxury situation. You're being waited on every minute of the day. You've got guides explaining the dive sites, taking you down, showing you everything. Most dive operations fall somewhere in between. You might have a high level of service provided by the crew on the boat, but they're not going to go down underwater with you. You might have a group of people who want to go with a guide that's provided for free, and so optionally, the people who want to go with the guide dive with that person. In the Caribbean, sometimes they're not trusting of their customers, and they'll say everybody's going to go with a guide or two, depending on how many people there are. So it really can vary, and it's important for you to know what you're getting into. So when you call up and book your charter, you should ask the question of, are there dive guides provided on the boat? Am I free to explore the dive site however I want? Will I be paired up with other people on the boat? And know what you're getting into so that you can make the right decision for your circumstances. Most dive guides are going to be at least dive master or instructor level professional trained divers with credentials from one of the major training agencies, so they are a true dive professional able to handle most situations you will encounter. The guide can be provided by the dive center who adds it on to your reservation, or it might be somebody that you provide and bring along with you. When I serve as a dive guide, which I actually really enjoy doing, the things that I do are greet the person when they arrive, help them with their equipment, help them get comfortable on the boat, do a private briefing about what we're going to expect on the dive, and then lead a tour underwater and try to accomplish whatever it is they want to accomplish, whether it's just seeing some interesting things or work on some skills. But make sure that you clarify up front what you want to accomplish. What I will not do as a dive guide is set up all of your gear and you just show up, put on the BCD and jump in the water. Because I feel like it's important for you to be able to set up your gear. I'll help you with every step of it, but you need to be familiar with the setup of your equipment and trust that it's working properly and that you've tested it all yourself before you get in the water. Do you need a dive guide? Well, here are my top reasons for when a dive guide can be really helpful, if not invaluable, when you're going out on a dive charter. You have unique goals or needs. Let's say that you want to focus on photography or capturing certain videos underwater. Or let's say that you know you need more time to set up your gear and get comfortable in the water. Or let's say that you know that it's going to take you longer to equalize as you're descending down and you don't want to hold up the group. Or you're a very slow swimmer or a very fast swimmer underwater, and that's your preferred style of diving. In those situations, you may want to be with your own personal dive guide, so you're not holding up the group and you're free to do whatever it is that you want to do during that dive. You want to practice certain skills. Let's say that you want to work on your buoyancy. Let's say that you want to work on frog kicking or helicopter turns, or that you have a new piece of equipment that you want to try out for the first time. And you want to have somebody there to help you out with those things and almost serve like a coach. You don't need to take a specialty class from one of the agencies necessarily if you just want to work on a skill and you kind of just want to be coached a little bit on the dive. That's a great opportunity to hire a dive guide. If you're going to do that, make sure that when you book this with the dive center or the dive professional, you let them know exactly what it is that you want to work on. Because if your goal is to learn how to effectively spearfish underwater and the dive guide that you hire is not somebody who does that very well, or you want to capture certain photographic images or video and the dive guide's not somebody who does that frequently, then they may not be the best guide for you. So always let the dive center know what it is that you want to accomplish if you have some specific skills you want to work on, so they can pair you up with the right dive professional. It's been a while since the last time you dove. Maybe you don't need a full-blown refresher session that starts in the pool and takes you through your underwater basic skills. Maybe you just want somebody to be with you for the first time because it's been 18 months or so since the last time you dove, but you're still very comfortable with all of your skills underwater. So you bring along a dive guide and they're going to just help you get comfortable in the water again and build up that confidence. You are a new diver fresh out of your open water training. When you go on your first dive after basic open water training, it's kind of like when you get your driver's license and you're now driving a car for the very first time without your parents or without your driving instructor, and it can be a little bit intimidating. So a dive guide being there for you on your very first trip, especially if it's on a different dive boat or with a different dive shop than you used for your certification, can be a great confidence builder. It can make you feel comfortable, make you feel part of the group, and build up your confidence so that you can really enjoy this dive and all of the ones that will follow. You are new to the dive conditions. If you did all of your open water training in a lake or a quarry or shore diving, and now you're about to go on a dive boat in the ocean, or you're going into cold water and you've only dived in warm, clear, calm conditions, a dive guide can be a great person to help you make that transition and build up some new local knowledge of what you might expect. So if you're diving for the first time in a new location, a new type of diving, a dive guide can really help you make that transition and feel comfortable with your dives. You don't want to worry about navigation. There are lots of locations where finding your way back to the boat can be a little bit of a challenge. For example, the patch reefs in the Florida Keys or in Grand Cayman sometimes are like a maze to swim around through, navigate, and then find your way back to the dive boat, where you find yourself underwater and you look at your buddy at about 40 minutes into the dive and you go like this, "Where's the dive boat?" And your buddy goes, and you both have to go up, look around, find the boat, go back down, safely navigate back to the boat. When I'm on vacation, I want to spend 100% of my time just enjoying the dive. I don't want 20% of my brain thinking, "Where's the boat? Where's the boat? Where's the boat?" Or taking compass headings and constantly be looking back and thinking about how I'm going to navigate back to the boat. It is liberating and just plain fun when you get to follow along with a group or a dive professional, enjoy the dive, and then you magically appear at the anchor line and sometimes wonder, how the heck did we get back here? But that's where the dive guide earns his or her money. You want to see cool stuff. A good local guide knows where the Goliath grouper hangs out, or the last location of a moray eel, or where nurse sharks are likely to be sleeping, and how to find a camouflaged fish like a scorpion fish that are impossible to see if you don't know what you're looking for. So if you want to find some very unique things on a dive guide can be the person who will help you find those things and give you great stories to tell at the bar that night about the cool stuff that you saw. You want a competent buddy. If you show up on a dive boat and you are a solo diver, you're likely to be paired up with somebody sort of randomly on the boat, either somebody who doesn't have a dive buddy or is willing to have you join their group. Sometimes that's fantastic. I have met some great friends, or at least people that I enjoyed having lunch with or drinks with later after meeting them on the boat. But sometimes it can be a mismatch of expectations or experience levels or what you want to accomplish during the dive You might get paired up with somebody who breathes through their gas much faster than you do, leading to a shorter time. There's a number of reasons why you may not want to be randomly paired up with somebody on the dive boat. So hiring your own private dive guide means you're going to have a professional level dive buddy who knows what they're doing, who is less likely to run out of air before you do, and will ensure that you have the best experience that you can underwater without having to be somebody else's caretaker. One last point on hiring a dive guide. The local customs might differ. Typically, dive guides in the United States, in a touristy kind of area like Florida or in the Caribbean, are going to be tipped separately from the dive boat. Sometimes they split their tips with the dive boat. Just make sure that you ask and are following the local customs. It's likely that the dive guide is being paid a pretty low wage from the dive center, and the dive center is expecting that to be made up for in tips, just like the crew of the boat. And we can debate all day long about whether that's the right business model or not, but it is the way that a lot of dive centers work in certain parts of the world. So if you have any questions, definitely ask the boat captain what's the custom for tipping on the boat, and they're happy to let you know what is appropriate. Those are my thoughts on when a dive guide can be really helpful. If you have other thoughts on this, make sure you put them in the comments. I'd love to see your thoughts. And subscribe to the channel if you like more content like this. And I'll see you next time.